What's up, Palm Water Dave? What's going on, Super Dave?
Hello, Brandon. How are you, sir?
Man, I'm doing good. Just getting set up here, trying to make sure that we got this out to everybody on all the platforms. You can listen to it on or watch it on YouTube, Facebook, Dave's, Palm Water Dave's. Was it 2 shows, 1 cup?
Well, it was. It's now called Mark Out Moments.
Mark Out Moments.
But
All
you
right,
can
well,
still
mark
find it at two shows 1cup.com or pwdpod.com or superdavemiller.com. It'll all take you there.
Good night. Is Conrad paying for all this?
Well, no, it's just if I've got a website, if I've got a web address, I just go ahead and point it somewhere.
Hey, that's what you do. That's what you do. We're going to get started here in just a second with some good stuff. Let's go ahead and thank our sponsor, strongcoffeecompany.com. Use the promo code ATI Wrestling and get 20% off. That Cinnamon Toast Crunch is good. Dave, man, this is the second time you've been on. Last time you was on, man, we had a fun time. I think we're going to have a real fun time tonight because we're live. We're going to have some people asking questions and stuff. So I'm ready to get down to the nitty gritty. You was at the SWA this past weekend.
I was. I had to, I didn't know it, but I hadn't been down there in 2 years.
Has it been 2 years?
I thought it was a year. And then on my Facebook memories, it popped up, and I was like, I'll be darned, it was 2 years. I love working for those guys. I'll be back with them in August.
Yeah, SWA is great.
I told them I'd take as many bookings as I could get. Check with me if my calendar's open, I'm there. I love working for them.
Yeah, Monty is great. Miss Ginger says, "Hey, Mr. Dave."
Hey, Miss Ginger.
But yeah, working with SWA is good. They have war games this weekend. How was the war games? I saw where they turned on Barry Wolf. I know.
Yeah, they did. They beat the mess out of him. Because I got there, and the crowd was cheering him, and I'm like, what in the bizarro world is going on down here? And man, that crowd was hot, and they beat the snot out of him. His partner turned on him. He just gave him that super kick and came out and locked the cage.
And then, oh man!
And you could tell there was some collusion there because Reggie took the lock from Mitch. So, and then had the lock ready for him, and then he locked Wolf in the cage, and finally we got the cage open, and we had to take the cage apart to get him out.
Wow!
Baseball bats, canes, they beat the piss out of him.
Well, they were in South Jones too, which is if I'm not mistaken, that's where Ryan Hodge was the principal at one time. I know he's West Jones now, but
yeah, he changed. He deserted them, and they were letting him know. But they were letting him know it before the cage. I noticed that they took it personal. It seemed like.
Oh yeah, they always do down there.
That's
Ginger,
a big rivalry.
Yeah, I mean, in South Jones, also a rowdy crowd too. So I know that I saw they were packed out.
It was that way the last time I was there, and they were they were into everything. Man, they were just engaged. They were just eating it all up. Just everything was great. Had the Hall of Fame. Steve Starr was there and inducted Black Ranger #1. I'm so mad at myself that I cannot remember that fan's name that they put in.
I'll have to look it up and see, but
I'm so mad at myself. But anyway, it was a very touching moment, and they had the guest bell ringer came out, and he got to get up on the ropes and do the CM Punk thing, and it was just a big deal to him. And I mean, when you see people that are just living their best life through wrestling, there's really nothing better than that.
Yeah, it's always good. Dave, the last time we sat here, we talked. We brought up WCCW. What was one of the most memorable matches that you remember seeing live
Killer Khan and Terry Gordy, Texas Death Match, Christmas 1984.
Woo! You popped that one off quick, then you didn't even waste no time.
There was another Terry Gordy Killer Khan matchup that wasn't on television. It was on a special Sunday night edition of the Sportatorium. There was no TV cameras or anything there. And it was like, to this day, I'm not sure that Gordy just didn't go off. Because, I mean, that's just how good it was. But that Texas Death Match, Kerry Von Erich was a referee. And Terry Gordy lost. But it was but Kerry tried to, they ended up Kerry having to help fight him off, and so they were reluctant partners there for a minute, and Kerry tried to shake his hand, and Gordy begged off, and Gordy started to leave, and then Gordy came back up and went ahead and shook his hand.
Wow.
But it was a bloodbath.
Oh, I bet it was.
Probably at that point the bloodiest match I'd ever seen.
Whew. So that was Christmas night, or around December 1984.
I said Christmas of 84. It was actually Thanksgiving of 84.
Thanksgiving, okay.
Thanksgiving of 84. Same building, Reunion Arena, Star Wars.
So back then, being an old man in that day and time and watching it, but no, like really getting to catch WCCW live, getting to see the Sportatorium, getting to see all the historic stuff. At the time, you probably wasn't thinking, "Oh, this is historic to me." Like
no,
but
no, never. I mean, it was just Friday night. It was the action. Now, I mean, I did get to go a couple times. Like when Andre the Giant was there, I knew it was a big deal to see Andre the Giant. But I remember the first time Magnum TA came to town. I remember the first time I saw the Junkyard Dog. They brought the Junkyard Dog in to wrestle Kamala.
Wow.
I think they brought Magnum TA in and wrestled Kamala. I remember going to see Magnum, but I remember going to see Junkyard Dog, and it was Junkyard Dog and Kamala.
Man, back in the territory days, though, back then, man, that was just like, that was, to me, was one of the most perfect times in wrestling. Because you had it in different territories. They were all over TV. Like, I got Memphis. I've got Mid-South. I was in Meridian, so I got to see Memphis, Mid-South, and I got to see, like, Mobile Continental and stuff like that down in that way. So, and Smoky Mountain later on. Like, we actually got Smoky Mountain Wrestling on, like, Saturday nights here.
We had, well, let's see, we had World Class. We had, and the Saturday night show I thought was better than the Saturday night show was better. The Channel 11 show, to me, was always better than the Channel 39 show. But the Channel 11 show was selling tickets to the house shows for the week when they're going around the loop. There was more promos. That Channel 11 show, to me, was superior. But the syndicated show was just what it was. It was syndicated. And then we got cable, and we had Southwest Championship Wrestling from San Antonio.
Oh, Southwest, and that was totally right.
Yep. That was Joe Blanchard's. I didn't really see. I saw Tully very little there. It was Eric Embry. It was Bob Sweetan. Saw Gino a little bit. Saw the Sheep Herders. The Jonathan Boyd Sheep Herders. Cowboy Scott Casey. The Grapplers. Don Carson and the Grapplers. There was a lot. It was a fun program. And then we had cable, so we had the Superstation. And then we also got WWE, WWF when it started up. We got the Madison Square Garden shows once a month on USA, because that was the MSG network at the time. So we would, like, me and my brother just tuned in one night and saw Hulk Hogan beat Bob Backlund.
Wow.
We saw Jimmy Snuka jump off of the cage.
Ryan's got a question here. I want to get this one. What's the biggest difference between the territory scene back then and the independent scene now. What's your take on this, Dave?
I don't honestly think there's a lot of difference. I mean, the territories had
Now the territories had
their towns they were going to run, and they ran. They ran, sometimes 7 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as, I guess the biggest difference is that you wouldn't have used. I'll use for instance,
like Eric Church. I don't know about that, but I don't know if that's a compliment or what. But
I don't know, man. But that's Darius Staley. It'll get better. Them glasses. I'm surprised you didn't say that you look like Ronnie Millsaps. But no, what I'm saying is now you'll get Ray Fury. You'll get Ray Fury in Brookhaven. You'll get Ray Fury in Homa. You'll get the same wrestlers working closer together, and it would have been more of a special deal. Like you got Kerry Von Erich in Houston. You got Kerry Von Erich in Mid-South. But they wouldn't be featured. They wouldn't be featured. Like it's nothing for a Ray Fury to be featured prominently in BIW, prominently in 225, prominently in Gulf Coast. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's that's your biggest deal, because in the territories everybody had their talent, and then you brought in good heels to shine up your baby faces, and the heels would run their course, and then they'd go do the same thing in another territory.
All right, I mean,
that's the biggest difference is that.
Well, and also
with the internet, there's no kayfabe,
right?
Because we wouldn't have known. We knew somebody just quit. Somebody was gone. Like Captain Frank Dusek was gone. He may have popped up in Mid-Atlantic, but we wouldn't have known it for months, and only if he was mentioned in one of the aftermags.
Right. And the thing also, like you're saying with the internet, no kayfabe and stuff like that. Matt Gibson, I'm going to get to your question in just a second, because that's a good one that Dave to
It'd be a good one for you to answer too, because you're on the hiring end of them sometimes.
Yeah. But, it's the funny thing about it is, like with the territory days, like you said, could run 7 days a week. And a lot of the times they were packing the houses every night. Right now it's kind of hard, which right now we're in a good area with independent wrestling. So there are some big crowds right now. We just had 2 big crowds this weekend. What makes a ref valuable and more desirable to companies?
Dependability, looking like a professional, acting like a professional, knowing what you're doing in there, being able to help out, calling a spot if necessary, working, not watching, reacting, enhancing the match, not taking away from it. I talked to a friend the other night that was two referees canceled on him. He was going to have to do the referee work, and he's done it before, but he's also 6'7", and he worried about being a lot bigger than the workers. And I just told him, I said, well, stay bent over a lot, work small, stay towards the back of the ring, get in there when you have to, but work small. Just, don't be so obviously towering over them. I'm short, so everybody's.
There's your picture. Yeah, that's the thing is, like, what people don't understand about refs. Is like you don't want a 7 foot tall ref in the ring.
I mean, Nick Patrick was a tall referee, and
he was, but you got to look at the guys also that.
But you didn't notice it that often.
No, you really did,
because I think he knew how to work small.
He really did. He really did know how to work small. And the thing with Nick Patrick was he's a great ref. Anyway, what I looked for when you was reffing any of my matches that I had, like when I had you there, I didn't have to worry about nothing because I knew everything was going to go the way it was supposed to go. And I really didn't have no bad refs. Anytime that we was running the show, I'm going to get that image back up here for you in just a second. But the thing is like with a ref, can mess up a match just as quick as a wrestler can, and it will make the match bad. If the ref messes up, it can ruin a match.
Yeah,
No matter how good the match is.
Yeah, and it don't matter how good the referee. It happens because it's happened to me this year.
I mean, it's just the way it goes sometimes. Work small.
And I felt horrible about it.
I never heard it said that way before, but I completely understand it. Perfect description. Yes. Two of my favorite guys. I don't see but one guy on here that's your favorite. And that's Dave Miller. Because Sam, I don't think I'm one of your favorites, man. I really don't.
Well, Sam's genuinely good human being. That it doesn't matter.
You're giving him too much credit. You're giving him too much credit. Now, see, somebody said I look like Eric Church. There's Eric Church. He is very unattractive. Does not look nothing like me. I'm a better looking human being than Eric Church. But like with the refs though, and yes, Matt,
Matthew, I appreciate that.
Well, I'll tell you this. I don't know. Do you know who Matt Gibson is? He is a ref, and
is he?
Yeah, he's. I have not had him at any of my shows.
I would have to click and look at the pictures because
I would love that. I have had him. He's a good ref. He's a really good ref to watch as well. Enjoy watching him, and would have loved to have got him at the company at some point. Can you sing better? No, I cannot sing better. You don't want to hear me sing. What's the song? What's the name of a song that Eric Church sang? Lone Black Train?
No, that's Josh Turner. I think Eric Church sings Springsteen.
I'm Springsteen on a summer night. Now I'll let you judge.
I couldn't name another Eric Church song.
Yeah, he said Springsteen.
And I'm going to tell you why I know this. Because right now on Sirius Radio, if you have an internet connection in your vehicle, you can get the internet channels. So I've got like country top 1,000 country hits ever, and Springsteen's like in the top 10, I believe. It's definitely in the top 20. But I was kind of like, how in the hell is that song in the top? Is where it was at, and that's how I know.
Well, I mean, I don't even think I've ever really. I mean, I probably heard Eric Church, but I'm not going out of my way to hear Eric Church.
I'm told he puts on a hell of a show. My wife saw him open for George Strait in Atlanta.
I'm sure I know my wife's probably seen because she's seen everybody. I will say Steve Anthony Green match was a fun one to watch. It was very cool to have myself, Mr. Dave, both wrestlers, and Mr. Josh watching the footage and going over it after the show. I'm going to say this. Dave, I know you reffed that match. I had Anthony Green on years ago on my podcast. Steve Anthony will be coming on soon. We're going to be working on getting him on here very soon.
Have him on mine too.
Yep, talking to Mr. Saxton Saturday. So it looks like we're going to be getting Mr. Saxton and Mr. Warbucks on here together as well at some point.
Nice.
But watching that match, I knew these two were going to kill it. I mean, I knew it because, they just – Steve Anthony can go with anybody. It don't matter who it is. Steve Anthony can go. And it was just an incredible match. And American Idol will be calling soon for my thing.
It's top 5 that I participated in.
That's what I was going to get to. I saw that where you said that. Yeah. We got – before we get to that, I want to ask that, Ryan American Idol will be called soon. I'm sure they will. They want the Brady one as well. But to be a little bit honest, a guy that is from our hometown is in the top 5 of the American Idol right now. So he's from Meridian. So he's in the top 5.
I saw a clip of that. I don't watch American Idol because I'd rather watch my mother suffer than anything with Luke Bryan on it.
But I don't watch American Idol.
I'm going to tell you just how much I don't like Luke Bryan. Is that Lionel Richie's one of my bucket list concerts to go to, and I won't put up with Luke Bryan to watch Lionel Richie.
Remember to like this video and keep the questions coming. But I can't remember his name. Jamal, I think is what his name is, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, let me tell you a funny story about that before we get to the Anthony Green, Steve Anthony thing about American Idol. So this guy is from Meridian. I guess his seamstress, the woman that's done all his stuff, is from here. And my mother-in-law was behind her in Hobby Lobby. She was getting stuff to make his suit. And my mother-in-law was like, well, he's got to have that suit tomorrow night. How are you going to get a suit made now and get it there? My mother-in-law called me last night because, like I said, I don't watch it, and tells my wife, he's wearing the same clothes that she was getting there. She made that suit in one day and sent it to him. And he's wearing that because that is the same fabric that she had at Hobby Lobby. So I was like, she's like, they told him he needed it ASAP. Well, he got it. All right, Steve Anthony Green, you said top 5. Man, just got, because I watched the video, and video don't always give it justice, but it was an incredible match on video. But tell me what it was like being in the ring with these guys and seeing it unfold like that.
I couldn't poke holes in it. It was just smooth. It looked like when they were fighting, it was a struggle. The just, man, it was just, I tell everybody work, don't watch. And Steve Anthony is always hard not to watch. Like if Steve Anthony's on the card and the other referee's doing his match, I'm kind of disappointed, but I can go watch him wrestle. But him and I didn't know what to expect from Anthony Green. I'd heard he was really good, and I heard right because, man, it was just so. I mean, I was checking on him. Because I couldn't tell that. I mean, it was just that's how tight, how snug everything was. It was just storytelling, and it was. I think it. I don't know that anybody expected Anthony Green to be a mountain for Steve Anthony to climb, but it was because the whole story has been Steve Anthony going through Southern royalty to get to Rob Love, and they brought Anthony Green in as an honorary Southern royalty member as yet another hurdle for Steve Anthony to get to Rob Love. And I don't know how many people there knew what we were getting, but before the match was over, we appreciated the hurdle that Steve Anthony was a hell of a hurdle thrown in front of him. And he vanquished that hurdle. And then they set the dog collar match that's coming up in Brookhaven with,
and that's going to be incredible with Rob Love, Steve Anthony, because there's a lot of at stake. You got Steve Anthony wins. What is it? Southern
royalty's gone.
Yeah. If Rob Love wins, Steve Anthony's
his bitch.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a family show stipulation. That's how tight that is that on a show that we would not normally say anything like that. That's the stipulation.
Yep. Because I mean, and that's no. That's exactly what
I say show. I mean event.
Yeah.
American Idol's a show.
Is it?
What we do in that wrestling ring is an event.
Yes, and those two could tear it apart. I'll just say, Steve Anthony. You remember when he took on Roderick Strong when he's in the younger days of Steve Anthony, how he was. That is what Anthony Green kind of reminds me of. Because, in all honesty, like Anthony Green came on my podcast 2 weeks before he signed with WWE. Carmelo Hayes, who you know him as, right?
Yes.
On NXT. He come on my podcast a week before he signed with NXT. And you want to know what the deal was at the time? Have you ever heard of Limitless Wrestling?
Yes, I have heard of it.
Okay. At that time, Limitless Wrestling heavyweight champion when he got signed was Anthony Green. When Anthony Green got signed, Carmelo Hayes became the Limitless Wrestling heavyweight champion. He got signed. MJF at one point was the Limitless champion. He got signed. It was like you win the Limitless championship, heavyweight championship, and you become a
That's a modern day Missouri heavyweight championship right there.
Yeah.
Used to, if you were the Missouri champion, you were going to, as soon as you dropped it, everybody look, he's fixing to be the world champion.
Yep. So I mean, it was like it's just crazy. Now Anthony Green didn't spend; he spent a cup of coffee in WWE, but sometimes WWE is just not the fit for you, and other places are like Japan. But Anthony Green's well traveled, and I definitely think that he could have made it on the WWE stage. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is,
he still might. It's not over yet.
Yeah. But Carmelo Hayes has pretty much made his way there. I mean, he's made a big name for himself at the time. But Anthony Green's, he's one of those guys that's just like Steve Anthony. Why isn't he signed to a major company? Steve has just been doing it for so long. He's just been doing it at a top level, and he's still doing it at a top level now. Like, he is not missing a beat.
No.
So,
no, not at all. No, he's I'll sing his praises all day long. There's not very many people that can say they beat Jushin Thunder Liger in the Tokyo Dome.
Exactly. Lost Art of Wrestling Exodus Prime versus Steve Anthony was so good. I did not get to see that one, but I
did, and I thought it was a very good match.
I mean,
I'm a big fan of Exodus Prime.
I am too. I had him. He came in for me at AWA one time, and dude's he's got the intangibles. He's got all of it. He's got the X factor and all.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with him.
He is really good. Derek Hilton. I was familiar with Green beforehand, and I'd say they over delivered my expectations, and the bar was high. Yes. I mean, well, anytime that Steve Anthony's stepping in the ring, Dave, the expectations are high anyway. I mean, and most of the time he's going to over deliver as well.
Yeah, I'm glad he's back.
Also, if you had a little more hair, all right, now we don't need to go to the hair part, and thicker beard, maybe I look like the brilliant one. Oh. But they we talked about
y'all could pass for cousins though.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Darren does have a lot less hair.
No, he don't. You can't.
Let's tell you about Darren Staley. Darren Staley shows up every week, and he keeps me. There's times I just can't even look at the chat anymore because he's got me just ready to bust because he's so funny.
He's pretending Silva's here.
Yeah, that's some inside baseball. Dave Silva, who's behind the scenes.
Dave Silva is.
Silva's that's what he's doing because Darren normally doesn't. He's normally pretty secure inside the ad-free shows bubble.
Now, I think the most underrated wrestler in the Japanese market is Samurai.
Oh, little Jimmy Sorensen. I've got a friend named Jimmy that he went to Japan with Sonny Ono and went to Muda's last match with Sting. And then he came back from Japan and he brought me, as a gift, he brought me a Muda mask.
Oh my gosh.
From Japan.
Legendary right there. If you hadn't hit that like button on this video, do it right now.
The dude's got the biggest heart in the world.
Our great man, that's got to be something. Let me ask you this: what was one of your favorite Muda matches? And I'm sure it's going to be Muda Sting.
It's hard to beat Muda Sting.
I mean, it really is. Gil Calkins says, "Hey,
Mr. Gil.
Hope you're doing well, Gil.
I hope you are." I saw Muda back in the day when he was the Super Black Ninja.
Really?
And if you're in Mississippi, he actually wrestled Kerry Von Erich at the
I was just about to bring
Vicksburg Auditorium.
Mm-hmm. I was just fitting to
But it was
say,
when World Class came through and they did that building, it was Super Black Ninja versus Kerry Von Erich.
man, I always wanted to see the Great Muta live. And by the time I got to see Great Muta live, it was, I think it was WCW 2000. So that
I
should
don't
tell
think I
you
ever saw him live, other than as a Super Black Ninja. I don't think I ever saw him as Muta.
I saw him as Muta in WCW 2000, but that should tell you enough right there. And it was not, I think it was, I want to say,
My favorite incarnations when he was with Gary Hart.
oh yeah, Gary
Because
Hart.
Gary
Hart was great though.
Because he just took him and made him Kabuki. And I think they even built him as Kabuki's son at one point.
That's another one, man. Kabuki. You know,
Kabuki scared me. When I became a wrestling fan, Kabuki was the first wrestler that ever scared me.
The first person that ever scared me was Abdullah the Butcher. Because I got to see Abdullah the Butcher and Cactus Jack battle it out. And I got so upset because Abdullah the Butcher was beating Cactus Jack with an egg beater and blood was just going everywhere. And I was like, Cactus! And yeah.
I saw Abdullah the Butcher and Bruiser Brody.
Oh, I would have loved to see Bruiser Brody live. And
man, anytime I saw Bruiser Brody live, it was a treat. So when the Undertaker tells the story about getting his tryout match, and they put him in that mask and called him Texas Red, and Percy took him to the ring for no other reason but after he got his ass kicked to show him how to get back out. When I hear that story being told, I remember being there for it. Not because of Red River Jack. It was just Cactus Jack. I mean, it was just a masked wrestler against Bruiser Brody. But I got to see Bruiser Brody that night.
I would have loved it.
Saw Brody and Kamala. Saw Brody and, of course, Brody and the Freebirds. Brody and Gordy. I mean,
I saw Brody. I'm not Brody. Damn it. Hold on just a minute.
I would like to see Brody and Flair. I would have liked to seen that live. But Brody was always, I know he did heel work in World Class, but he never did when I was going. Because he came in as Kerry's mystery partner.
Well, see, by the time Brody had been killed by the time that I was able to really go to live events. And speaking of that, like talking about Brody, let's talk about Brody for just a second. What do you remember about that? What do you remember about him getting stabbed in the showers in Puerto Rico?
Well, you know, all we heard was just whatever the newspapers would report it. And then, you know, later I got to read Dutch Mantel's firsthand analysis of it. I was really mad at Tony Atlas for a long time because I felt like Tony Atlas not going and testifying that the guy got away with it. I understand now that Tony Atlas couldn't do it because he got killed.
Yeah.
And Tony Atlas felt bad about it. I mean, I've had the opportunity to talk to Tony Atlas about it. It was just a bad situation. He had to get out of there or they were going to kill him.
I mean, well, that was a bad time back in wrestling anyway. I mean, that was the 80s when, you know, I don't know if I can like to say it, but back then organized crime kind of dominated that back over in that way anyway.
Yeah, I think Brody didn't ever sell for this guy.
No, he didn't. He wouldn't
sell for him. But hey, Brody wasn't selling for anybody that size.
Brody wasn't selling for anybody, period, unless, you know, it was believable. And right. Same goes for Stan Hansen, too.
And so people hear the story now and they're like, oh, Bruiser Brody, he was a freaking bully. No, Bruiser Brody was a worker, protecting his gimmick that made him a lot of money. I mean, he went to Japan. He had to protect that for Japan.
Well, he wasn't. I mean, I guess he was before my time. I mean, when he died.
But at the time, it was just sad. He got murdered. He got murdered in a locker room. And I think my initial reaction was that it was jealousy.
Oh, it had to be, yeah.
Because we wouldn't have known. We didn't know the backstage. I mean, we learn all this so far after the fact.
Now, did you ever see Stan Hansen live?
Yes. I want to say I saw Hansen and Luger. I want to say it was Hansen and Luger.
It was Hansen and Luger because we may have seen the same thing with WCW.
Yeah, I think it was during the Great American Bash.
Yeah, yeah. I think we both was there then. Because
I saw him in Dallas.
Yes, that's where it was.
I think it was at Reunion Arena.
Yeah, I think it was 91, 90. Was it
either at Reunion Arena or it was at Tarrant County Convention Center?
I can't remember.
Was John Gonzalez Elegante, was he on the show?
Yep.
And it may have been Fort Worth because I remember him coming out of the tunnel at Fort Worth. And to this day, I still remember how big this guy was because he came out of the tunnel and stood up and he was towering so far above the crowd. I'm not saying he was impressive in the ring. I'm just saying
he wasn't impressive in the ring.
A massive human being.
He was impressive as a wrestler. I mean, as like an attraction.
Physical specimen. He was an attraction. Like Andre the Giant. I remember, man, I think when I saw Andre the Giant, it's the size of his fingers is what stood out to me in person because I was pretty close to the ring. Because I saw him in 83. He tag teamed with the Iceman King Parsons against the Super Destroyers. And that's what I remember. And if you go to Baylor Hospital, even to this day in Dallas, Texas, they have a section where they did casts of hands like Roger Staubach, but they have an Andre the Giant cast of his hand, and they have a cast of Fritz von Erich's hand.
I met him at the North Wilkesboro, North Carolina Armory. Now, who are we talking about you met?
Probably Stan Hansen.
Okay, Stan Hansen.
He's talking about Hansen.
Okay, I thought you was talking about Giant Gonzalez.
I met Mr. Hansen at the first time I met him was at the IHW Southern Hall of Fame ceremony in I think 2014. And then I got to visit with him a little bit at the on 2016. I was hanging out at the WWE hotel bar with Conrad, and Stan Hansen was there. I met a lot of people.
Yeah. Don't drop names. Don't drop names, Dave. Look at you.
50th, it was my 50th birthday, and I was living my best life.
50? What was that, 1946?
Yeah. So, but I've had the opportunity to be around him a few times, and he's such a good guy. Family, a nice family. Son's nice, wife's nice.
You remember when Stan got inducted into the Hall of Fame?
Mm-hmm.
I was so happy that night. I was like, even though he didn't really do nothing with WWE, I mean, it was WWF, wasn't it?
Yeah, he broke Bruno's neck, though.
Yeah, he did break Bruno's. But what I was just so happy for is like, finally, it happened, and it wasn't like it happened after he passed. It happened while he's alive.
Let me show you this.
Yeah, you got to show me that, but we also got to show some of my people your walls. We got to show some of them the walls. What's this you got here?
I'm going to show you the back of the box first.
Uh-oh.
It's a Stan Hansen action figure from Japan.
I was going to say it had to be from Japan. Look. Oh, wow.
He's throwing the lariat.
Yes, he is.
And he autographed it.
Dave, I'm going to have to come over to your house. Do you leave your doors unlocked? You don't have no ring cameras, do you, to see people throwing boxes on your...
Oh, I got a ring camera. Ask FedEx if I've got a ring camera.
That's what I was kind of hinting at there on that one.
Oh,
so what'd you get into?
I'm gonna do a modern day crucifixion of FedEx on my show tomorrow night. What you say, Hillbilly Joe?
He said, hey, Mr. Dave.
How you doing,
sir?
Yeah,
I didn't even know Hillbilly had internet or any way to get on the phone or anything like that, being off back in, what was it, Buzzard Roost, Mississippi or something?
I had a really good conversation with him this weekend. there.
How do you have a conversation with somebody that don't know how to speak words?
Well, because I'm the
You
same
can't
way.
even read or write, and you're sitting here having conversations with the
I
man.
can
What
do
are you
it.
doing? Talking to yourself? Hey, the Lariat, Chris Chambers. What's going on, Chris? I have rabbit ears. Oh, they still make those?
They work better than the digital.
Uh,
That is a true story because I had a set of rabbit ears I would take to work when I worked for Love's. We had televisions on display. This was like 2009, and you had to get so. I take my rabbit ears to work and hook them to one of the televisions so I could pick up the digital channels. And it picked up better than I mean it really worked. They work great.
I didn't, man. I didn't even know that they made rabbit ears anymore. I mean, like, who watches local television anymore? Really?
Well, I took them so I could put the Cowboy game on the television while I was working on Sunday.
The what game? You should
Cowboys.
already know the outcome to that.
Oh yeah.
I mean, look, who was it? Was it George Pickens that got traded to the Cowboys and then unfollowed them on all social media? Did you hear that?
We're on a break right now.
Oh,
Jerry Jones finally did it, and me and the Cowboys we've been in a loving relationship since I was born. So, but Jerry finally did it to me, and
Dave in the I can't remember, is that OC or QC?
QC.
Dave and the QC Cowboys suck. I agree with you, Dave. I agree with you. The Cowboys do something. You know, when they was running their traps about, oh, this is America's team. What team was this America's
wait a minute.
team? What?
Because while we're on a break, I can still defend them. Who's your favorite team?
Who's my favorite team?
Yeah.
Man, I really don't have no NFL favorite team other than Tom Brady. But he's no longer in the league, so
I knew he was going to be a band. I knew you were going to jump on a bandwagon. You're a closet Saints fan, right?
no.
All right.
What
I'm saying is,
I'll say this. Here's my teams growing up. You can kind of nitpick at it. The Tennessee Titans, when they were the Houston Oilers, I was an Oilers fan. Okay. And then they moved to Tennessee. I was actually at the Super Bowl when Steve McNair and them played the Rams and Kurt Warner.
Oh.
My high school football coach coached them. Coach Steve McNair, so he got tickets. But anyway, so the Houston Oilers was about the only team. Tennessee Titans was about the only team that was really my favorite in the NFL. I'm more of a college guy, but
I became a college guy when I moved to Mississippi. I would rather watch college ball now.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I'd rather watch it now.
Growing up in Dallas, you know, we had the Cowboys, and I liked SMU, and then they got the death penalty.
Yeah, you hit me a few years ago. My lawyers are still working that out, Hillbilly Joe.
But the point I was trying to make is the Cowboys haven't done anything in 30 years. But they did a lot prior to that. They won 5 Super Bowls, appeared in more of them, had a winning record for years and years and years and years. But what I'm saying is there's only a couple other teams that can say that they've won 5 Super Bowls or more, or even 6. But and you got to keep in mind that when the Cowboys did it, men still played the game. There wasn't no turf toe. There wasn't, you know, those guys got out there. They only had one bar on their face mask. They played football. They were like old school professional wrestlers because if they didn't play, they didn't get paid. And they played the game, and you didn't have the Brady rule where, I mean, the quarterback wasn't off limits. Terry Bradshaw was hitting Lynn Swan while you could kill the quarterback, and there wasn't no pass interference. They were mugging Lynn Swan. Same with Jerry Rice and Joe Montana. Same with Tony Dorsett. Same with Roger Staubach throwing to Drew Pearson. I mean, the game was played differently. Men played the game. They didn't call holding every other play. You didn't throw the ball deep because you knew that you were going to get a pass interference card. You were not strategically using the referees back then. So,
Right.
so
it's called the Tuck rule, not the Brady rule. Don't be a hater.
I
Brady.
know what it's like to see my team win 5 Super Bowls, but there's not a lot of people that can say that about their teams.
Mm-mm. Well, I can say that my team, I've seen my team win 6 national championships. So I was alive for all of them, and I was at 3 of them. But I'm going to just say this. Chambers Bulldog fan since 89. So, okay.
I'm assuming you're Roll Tide, right?
All day, baby.
Okay.
And I'll
And
say
hey,
what, my dad played baseball.
Well, I liked Alabama because Gene Stallings was there, and he's former he's
Gene
old
Stallings
he's
was
old
great.
cowboy. And then I liked
Gene
and then I liked him because Nick Saban was there because he left LSU and pissed him off real bad.
Well, here's my thing. Like when I came out, I was an Alabama fan. I remember. I want to get to a couple of points, but I got to tell the story since I'm on it. And we're talking about football, not wrestling, so what? It doesn't matter.
We're
All right,
having
here
fun.
it is. So when I was 4 or 5 years old, I went into a convenience store with my dad. This was back in the day, and they had these little keychains sitting up there. And I went to reach for a UA. I mean, AU, UA, whatever. AU keychain. And my dad slapped my hand and said, "We don't touch those." And I said, "Oh, okay. It's the U of A we touch." He showed me that. So I was like, all right. And so that day when I was 5 years old, I remembered we don't like Tigers. We like Tide. But college football, I've never, like I said, I'm not the biggest pro fan, Darren, but I do watch the NFL. I like watching games. I just don't have a favorite
If I'm
team.
being honest, if you were going to offer me a ticket to anything, any sporting event, Dave, you can go to any sporting event you want.
That's right, Leo.
Give me a ticket. Give me a ticket to go see Dallas Stars play hockey.
I'm gonna get.
I'm a hockey fan. I'm a hockey fan. I'll pick hockey over any other sport.
All right, I was going to talk about hockey in a minute because I knew you was a Dallas Stars fan. I was going to go with this though first. College football used to be the greatest sport in the history of the world, and now it's ruined as well with the NIL. What's your thoughts on the NIL? Quick rundown before you give your thoughts. I'm not against college players getting paid. My thing is they get paid too much. They shouldn't be getting millions of dollars while in college. They're already getting a free education. Now they're getting millions of dollars. What's your thoughts on this? We're going to start this as a football podcast tonight.
Well, I'm for players getting paid because if they get hurt in college, they don't get the opportunity to make the millions, and the colleges make plenty money. And I know you're saying they're getting their education, but
it's not just that. All right, look.
But here's where I think, and
All right.
I don't agree that they get to go to the transfer portal an unlimited number of times.
Right.
I think if your coach leaves, I've always thought if the coach leaves, the player should be able to leave. But just because you don't get your way, don't mean that you up and get to go to the transfer portal. Now, also the bowl games. Here's how I feel about it. Eventually, people sponsor these bowl games. Nobody cares about watching most of them, but they sponsor them. So
there ain't nobody even in
so
the
let's
state.
say that I got a big old pile of money and I'm going to sponsor a bowl game. I was just saying, if I know that most of the roster is going to leave because they don't want to play the bowl game, they don't want to get hurt or whatever, they don't want to play a meaningless bowl game. What I'm saying is that it's a deal where you got to tell them, here's your contract. If you're going to play, this is how much money you're going to get. This includes the bowl games. Now, if you don't want to play the bowl games, that's fine. But this is how much we're going to invoice you for your education. So if you're going to pay us all of this, feel free to skip the bowl games. But if you're going to be here, you're playing the bowl game. Because we need, you want the money, but you got to be here for us to continue to get the money. See what I'm saying? I think that we're going to get a collective bargaining agreement. I wouldn't be surprised if Nick Saban doesn't end up being the commissioner of college football.
I'd love it.
I mean, I'm for the players making money, but it's got to be.
It's got to be regulated.
It's got to be 60. It may not. It don't have to be 50-50, but it's got to be 60-40 because it's kind of like you can't give. There comes a point when you're like, you get a football player in there and he goes, I want this, this, and this, and this. And then the owner's like, okay, well, I'll tell you what, I'm just going to give you the team and you pay me this. Because it gets to be ridiculous. It's kind of like you were hearing some grumblings in the WNBA that they think they should be making millions.
Oh, God, don't even
when they don't understand
on that.
When they don't understand that if it's a welfare league, if the NBA pulled their money out, if they quit supporting it, and they paid everybody based on the revenues, they'd all be paying about $575 a player to play. So, I'm for them making. I'm not saying these ladies don't deserve money, but I'm saying you got to make money to get it. If the NBA just said that we don't need this, y'all just go ahead. There's not very many of those teams that's going to survive.
Well, here's my thing with the WNBA real quick. Let me go ahead and get the bowl game or the college football thing out of the way real quick, and then I'll get to the WNBA. With college football, like these guys don't even know how to manage $1 million in the NFL. Why should they be getting $1 million in college? They need to learn money management in college before they get to the NFL so they can manage that money because most of them go broke as soon as they get hurt. You know, they make more money than me and you will in our lifetime. Okay. Some of them do. And it's just like.
But I've got no problem with them making it in college.
Yeah, I don't have no problem with making it in college.
Because if you get hurt.
They need to have money management courses as well.
But now you've got them where they're making so much money that they're taking a pay cut to go to the NFL.
Yeah, and they really are. Yeah.
Who's that dumbass Quinn Ewers that was going to make? He was going to make millions to play college football somewhere else other than Texas, and he's going to take I think he's going to only make a fraction of that now being in the NFL draft. Like, how do you pass up millions to go make hundreds of thousands?
Hey, I'm gonna just say this. Hold on just a second. Dave, check at it right there.
Okay.
Because we're about to make this interesting. But I'm going to just say this about the WNBA, okay? You're right. You got to make money. You got to sell tickets to get your money. You remember when that European Soccer League? The women were mad because the men were making more than them, but the men were selling tickets. They were selling out the building. Angel Reese made a comment. Now, I can't stand this girl. She's beautiful, but I can't stand her. She said, I'm not the only, Caitlin Clark's not the only one people are tuning in to see. And in all honesty, they are. That is the whole reason that the WNBA took off last year was because of Caitlin Clark. And they still didn't make a profit.
No.
So, you know, and you had, I even watched 2 minutes of a game this year. First time I've ever watched a game in the WNBA, and I watched a full 2 minutes.
My problem with Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese is that because of them, I have to hear about the WNBA.
Right, and I don't care to. But here's
I love women's. But I love college basketball. I love ladies college basketball.
I love college basketball. I love volleyball.
Girls high school basketball.
Well, I go and watch college volleyball every year. We go to Mississippi State, to Alabama, and places. I don't know if you've ever seen college volleyball, but it is fun.
College volleyball sold out. Sold out the stadium in Nebraska.
Yeah,
the biggest crowd ever watched.
Nebraska's always got a good team.
They played in the stadium.
Well, see, I didn't know nothing about volleyball until my niece started playing. And when I found out that she's going to play, and this was like the 8th grade, well, she'll be a junior this year. But in the 8th grade, I was like, why do I want to watch volleyball? And we go to one of her games, and I mean, these are junior high kids when she was playing first started. And I was like, I told my wife, I was like, all right, we'll watch it, but golly, it's going to be boring. And then I get there. And I'm like, the games are competitive. I know this, like, nothing crazy, but the games are competitive, and it was fun. And I've enjoyed it. And my niece is really good at volleyball, and hopefully she'll go on to college here in a couple of years and play. So, did you see my message there?
Yeah, I did.
Uh,
My granddaughter's a beast, man. My granddaughter's an absolute beast playing basketball. She's a beast it's softball, and she's only 9th grade. So, man, her best years are coming. But I mean, she threw JV, she threw shot and discus. She's on the JV, and she threw varsity, went and threw discus at state. Came in 5th in state.
Steve
She
Dixon.
don't even spin. She don't even spin yet. She's just lobbing it.
Well, hey, my wife was a state champion several years in a row with in high school. She was one of the top pitchers in Mississippi back in between 2001 and 2004. So
I let her know under no uncertain terms last night. Papa would be proud to see her play softball at the University of Oklahoma.
yeah, okay, JR. Okay, JR.
Hey, my daughter graduated from OU.
Oh, Joe Walters up in here. I see you. I see your boy did pretty good Saturday night down there in.
We're just talking about him at Dollar General today. I ran into a friend of his. The last time I saw him, he was with him.
So, but here's my thing with like sports in general. Like I said, college football was one of my favorite up until probably about 2 years ago. Now, I mean, I still enjoy it. I still watch it, but the NIL to me just kind of ruined it. I mean, like they offered a kid, like the first year that it was eligible, they offer a kid $1 million. Now, he didn't get the $1 million until he signed with them, but he got offered $1 million as I want to say sophomore in high school to come play at Ohio State. $1 million. You're saying, hey, all I got to do is sign. When I get to your school, I'm a millionaire. Is that it? I'm like,
Yeah.
How? I don't know, Chambers. Did you send a picture there? I'll have to look at it in a minute. But I mean, really, do you? All right, let's say it's okay. We agree they should get paid. We agree.
But we got it. We got to do something to. It's out of control right now.
It really is. You cannot offer 15, 16-year-old kids millions of dollars to come play at your school. Because you would be like, man, I got to go play at my favorite school. I got to do this and do that. But now it's like, who's going to offer me the most money to come play?
And I don't blame them. I'm not opposed to money.
Oh, I don't blame them either. I take the money and run.
Because they don't know. Because when they get hurt, don't nobody know who they are anymore.
No, they don't. Well, I mean, some of them, I still watch college football over pro right now, but still. Well, the only reason it's turning your stomach, Chambers, is because Georgia found out that they really wasn't the Alabama of college football. And, they thought, oh, we got Kirby Smart. We won 2 in a row. Well, Alabama won back-to-back 2. Maybe not in the playoff era, but we won back-to-back 2. And, yeah, y'all just keep – you're the Dabo Swinney now of college football.
Now, NIL has done one thing. It's allowed teams that did nothing. I mean, even Vanderbilt had a respectable year. And SMU, who knew how to pay them back in the day, they had a really good season. So you've had some teams jump out of nowhere because they were able to use the portal to rebuild their teams.
Yeah, they really were. Let me see here. I don't mind college getting paid, but limit. Yeah, we agree. Limit. Yeah, Chris, I see your post all the time about, oh, Georgia Bulldogs this and Georgia Bulldogs. Let me just tell you something. I can remember when Georgia Bulldogs was supposed to win a national championship with Mark Richt. That never happened. Yeah, you got Kirby Smart via Nick Saban. So he took the 2009 Alabama team. You know, he made his own in Georgia. But you know what's the funny thing about that, Dave? Is Georgia was always so good. They was always so dominant until they ran into Bama. You know, I think they did beat Bama in one national championship or whatever, but Bama dominated them. Like, we were getting beat bad. And he's like, Jalen Hurts, you got to sit down, which everybody went nuts over. Tua get in there, and Tua came in and won it.
Yeah. And then Jalen Hurts went to Oklahoma.
He sure did. And you know what? When you bring it up, nobody ever remembers that he was at Alabama. Oh, now they're trying to claim him being from Alabama when he wins the Super Bowl. I've always liked Jalen Hurts. Don't get me wrong. I've always liked Jalen Hurts. And no,
but even Jalen Hurts, he said roll sooner.
Yeah. So I mean, yes, he was at Oklahoma for the year. He spent a lot of time at Alabama, so you know.
Only Jalen Hurts could babyface the Philadelphia Eagles to me.
I'm gonna just tell you this: this year was the first time I ever rooted for the Philadelphia Eagles. So I mean,
yeah, I felt dirty. I really did.
I was sitting here thinking, yeah, I felt like I was rooting for Auburn for a second. Man, we didn't turn this into a college football, NFL football thing.
We're all over the place.
Yeah.
We're not talking wrestling.
No, we need to get Dave. I want to get back to Philadelphia Eagles or Roll Dogs. They do have a lot of Alabama in that. I went to Alabama once. Not for me. Hey, it's not for everybody. And success is not for everybody. Failure's for most people, Darren.
Oh
man, but let's get back to wrestling. Chris Chambers, while you're in here running your trap about something, ask Mr. Dave a question here. I need a couple of questions, wrestling questions, not football questions.
We have gone off the rails.
We have. I'm trying to get us back on unless Dave comes on. Dave comes on, then we'll get back to some football. But
there's not a whole. There's very little I can give an expert opinion on, and football is not one of the things I can.
Well, you can always be armchair quarterback. I mean,
but I'm a homer. I'm a homer, though.
Let's see here. Well, we need to come on, Chambers. You have been here touche and all this, and don't come on up. I know you can come up with something. I don't even know how you spelling some of these words you're spelling, but come on up with them. But I'll go ahead and ask a question since we're here. Who is your favorite manager in wrestling? Besides me. I mean, I know I'm number one, but besides me, who is your favorite wrestler? I mean, manager, because they don't get enough talk either.
Gary Hart.
Yes.
Now, do I rank Gary Hart number one all time? No.
But he is up there. I mean, he's good.
Oh, he's top five. He's number 5.
Yeah, I would say I'm going to be biased here because he's just one of my favorites. He's always been one of my favorites. But I'm going to put Bobby Heenan up there at the top.
Bobby Heenan, until this year, Bobby Heenan was number 1.
And that's Heyman, I know.
It's Heyman now, and it's hard to argue that.
Well, there is no arguing, and that's what I was just going to say. I'm a Heenan boy, but Heyman, I've always been a fan of Heyman's too. But Heyman has now, he's done it. He is the greatest of all time. To me, there's no.
Heenan, it's Heyman, Heenan, Cornette.
Yep, there you go. That's my Mount Rushmore right there. With who would be your fourth with Mount Rushmore there? Would you go Jimmy?
To me, it's JJ.
I would say JJ,
but I think I'm underselling Jimmy.
Well, here's the thing.
Jimmy Hart.
He's done it all. Jimmy
Yeah.
was he was one of the very few people that could pull off being a face manager as well.
I mean, yeah, it's Jimmy Hart, then Gary Hart. And JJ just gets up there for his association with the Horsemen.
Four Horsemen, baby.
And Skandar Akbar. Oh my God.
Ah,
Joe Wiggins pointed out honorable mention to Akbar. Ak was great.
well, let me get that up there because we got a lot of stuff popping off. No, I disagree. Put Heyman at closer to what? Wait a minute now.
And I did for a lot of years.
But you can't no more.
Well, hey, who does it? Who? There's nobody that he touches that does not come out better.
No, I mean, there's not. Look, if you look at it, Roman Reigns, and nothing against Reigns because Reigns is a hell of an athlete. He's a great athlete, but Reigns wasn't going nowhere.
He wasn't.
Reigns was dead in the water until Heyman along.
Heyman got him over.
Yes, he did because Vince McMahon tried to push Roman Reigns down our throats forever, and we rejected it forever. And once he gets with Heyman, it took Heyman, what, 2 months? We hated Reigns, and we were just starting to like him, and it was just like, it was being shoved down our throats, and then Heyman, he's just one of those guys that can do it. Like, Brock didn't need a manager, but Heyman put him there. You know what I mean?
But he wouldn't have been near as interesting without him.
Exactly. Let's see what this is. And Sam, I haven't forgot yours. I saw yours up there. I'm gonna ask him about that in just a second. I put Heyman below Jimmy Hart, below Corny, below Heenan, below JJ. Well, maybe not below JJ. JJ is a strip bar in Meridian. All right, here's the thing. Heyman had
Did you say? But were you familiar with Polly Dangerously?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Did you not see the Dangerous Alliance?
I mean, he didn't just get good.
Look,
he managed Austin Idol. He was managing Austin Idol in Memphis against Lawler.
He was, and also look at the names he's managed. Steve Austin. I mean, Arn Anderson. I mean, you look back at all the names that he's managed before he got to WWE, and you're like, all these guys were tippy-top guys in the business. Everything Heyman touches turns to gold. You're right, Joe.
I'm going to use Paul Heyman and Jerry Lawler and Austin Idol as an example because you keep hearing people say less is more. Less is more. Yep. All the old guys try to tell the young guys less is more. Young guys don't want to hear it. But
nope.
There was a match. Austin Idol versus Jerry Lawler. It was a chain match where they had chain around the they had the chain around the wrist. And Lawler was in the ring and they slipped the chain on Lawler and he's ready. And they're trying to get Austin Idol to put his hand out there to get the chain on. And Austin Idol's working this, I don't want to do it. And this goes on for a while. Like he's working the crowd into a lather because he will not put the chain on. And then Polly Dangerously is, he's helping with these shenanigans. And finally the referee has had enough. And this is like after minutes of working the crowd. The referee's had enough. He's going to start counting. So Austin Idol he's got to put this chain on. Just as the referee starts counting, Lawler slips the chain off and ties it to the other rope. They get the chain on Austin Idol. Paulie looks over and sees Lawler doesn't have the chain on. He jumps up. He's trying to get their attention. The referee's at him, trying to get him down off the apron. Austin Idol turns around. Lawler reaches in his tights, takes that little chain, wraps it around his fist. Bam. Knocks him out, grabs chain, puts it back on, covers him. 1, 2, 3. One bump in 10 minutes.
And the crowd was going nuts.
But they worked the crowd. You mentioned John Saxon. One night, John Saxon and Jeremy Young were in the ring. Cowboy Jeremy Young. They're in the ring. Saxon's got him in a headlock, and he goes, "We're going to sit here till the crowd comes up." And he just sat there, and he was working the headlock. And Jeremy Young's still in the headlock. And he just kept on. And he goes, "No, they're not up yet." And I'm like, we say. But I'm listening to him talk. And sure enough, just like he said, he brought the crowd up. And they worked that because the crowd didn't dictate to him what he was going to do. He was dictating to the crowd what he was going to show them, and they were going to like it. He controlled the crowd. The crowd didn't control him.
Yep.
And I'll never forget that. So when who asked the question was one of my favorite matches to referee.
Right. I was
that one. Because you would think that it would be the obvious. I mean, you think that we talk about, "Hey, Dave, what was your favorite match?" That I'm going to say, it was Ric Flair's last match. No. And if truth be told, I had much more. That was fun. That was a great spot. I'll never forget it.
It was a great moment.
But the match earlier in the night with the Briscoes and the Von Erichs was much more enjoyable to referee. Because I didn't have time to enjoy it because I was worried that Rick was going to die because he was so dehydrated. But I mean, that was fun. But that's a spot. So I don't even count that really personally as I refereed a match. I made a 3 count. It was a spot. And it's the greatest spot that I'm ever going to do.
I don't know. Once you count the 3 in the Brilliant One's last match, that may be it. That may time.
But what I'm telling you is that being in Sulphur Springs, Texas, for Wally Dartman and Robert Evans, and the crowd is ready to kill me because Robert Evans pulled the tats on Wally Dartman. And this is the brilliant storytelling. If y'all aren't familiar with Robert Evans, Archibald Peck was his name, I think, in Ring of Honor. You hear about the writer that told Brett to thank Vince, and then he got yelled at and quit at the Hall of Fame. That is Robert Evans. Robert Evans is so talented as a writer, and I was fortunate to work with him really early in my career. But him and early in the match, and Robert Evans was would wear trunks over tights, and Wally Dartman shortsed him, rolled him up for the pin, 1, 2, 3, as soon as the match started. And Robert Evans is saying, "Ref, my pants are around my ankles." He pulled the tights. So you had to give it to him. We restarted the match. 30 minutes later, he schoolboys, nothing but tights of Wally Dartman. 1, 2, 3, new light heavyweight champion, cruiserweight champion, whatever we're calling it. The fans went nuts. They were rushing the ring. Wally goes, there's a little girl at ringside. Wally goes, "Little girl, tell that referee what you saw." And she was like, "You can't do that." And kids getting hysterical makes me laugh, but I was trying not to. And then this grown man runs up and says, "You can't do that. This is what he had his tie." And a woman, and the fans had completely bought into what was going on. And Jamie Aller was the timekeeper. And he said, "Hey, go take the belt away from Evans. Come back and say we're going to hold it up for the next show." So I went and did a whole thing, taking the belt from him, came back. But I left. I was parked out in the crowd because I'd never been there before. And I left during the main event because I didn't want the heat from the crowd. That was one of my favorite matches. Early, Franco D'Angelo and the Monster Bash, managed by Mike Page, Pocket Aces Page. They cheat. Franco gets Bash pinned. There's no referee. The referee's bumped. He's trying to get him. Finally gives up. They get to fighting. Mike Page manages to hit Franco with the golf club. Bash pins him. I come running down, slide in the ring. 1, 2, 3. the crowd's losing their shit. Because let me tell you about Franco. Franco was a male dancer. So a lot of the women would come to go see him. We had really good female crowds for Franco. And they were losing their mind, Franco. So Franco's pleading with me, hey, man, he hit me. And I was like, hey, I just came. They said the referee was down. I ran through. You were being pinned. 1, 2, 3 is how it was. So he gives me a boot, puts me on his shoulders, and gives me an F5. And as I hit the ground, the crowd starts going, he deserved it. And I'm just laying here. And it's being able to feel genuine heat like I did in Sulphur Springs, or feeling heat like I have in Houma, Louisiana, which is by far my favorite town to ever referee in. Their woman wanted to kill me. They had to stop her from coming around the guardrail to get me. She said, I don't know where they got your old ass, but they need to send you back there. I hope you effing die. I mean, when they're bought in that way, and all it was is that Christian Blake had pinned Houston Carson, but they were in the ropes. So I came out and told Petrie, hey, he was in the ropes, and they restarted the match. Carson managed to steal the win. But those are those instances that stand out. Angel Camacho versus Larry D.
Oh, yes.
It was early in the card match. It was only going to they stole the show. He took Angel Camacho.
Well, it don't matter where you put Camacho.
But Angel wasn't used to working 20, 25-minute matches.
No, I know.
They stole the show. And then when you can leave the ring and feel like you've been part of something special, it stays with you. It stays with you for a long time.
We got Dave Q-Ball over here. But before we get to him, I got to say this. I got 2 questions left.
You only get on the show if your name's Dave.
Yeah, you do. And answer these brief. One of them's Chambers. He's got this. Which ref did you model yourself after? He modeled himself after Super Dave. I can answer that one.
Harvey Whippleman.
David Manning is the correct answer. It's probably 95% David Manning and 5% Tommy Young.
Which is the one from World Class that wouldn't even bother getting down. He would just one.
No, that was Bronco Lubitsch.
Okay.
Yeah, I was Bronco. Yeah.
You want to hear a crazy Bronco Lubitsch fact? Because we're watching 1983 over on our Patreon, World Class Flashback, and we're watching it on our. We did an episode recently on our channel. Mark out moments. You
have a lot of those.
What I'm saying is, Bronco Lubitsch, when you look at him, and he doesn't get down, and he doesn't get all the way down to count. Bronco in 1983 is 2 years younger than I am now, and that
so he's
blows
only
my
85.
mind. Huh?
He was 85 then.
No, man.
Born in 1892.
Bronco was 57 years old in 1983.
You're 57?
I'm 59, Jack.
Damn, I would have never guessed it. I would have said at least 89. I would have never.
I don't feel a day over 89.
I like this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
he's Dave,
the
real Dave, not Dave, Super Dave.
He's taking shots at me. Somebody said he looked like Eric Church, and I could have said Timu Eric Church, malnourished Eric Church.
You could have said Timu,
and I let the shit go.
Let me look at this. That right there does not look like me. I'm a better looking human being than this person right here. Like I said, I didn't even know what song Eric Church sang.
Nope. I don't even know who that is.
I thought it was Long Black Train or something. I was like,
he got the chicken joint.
Yeah,
Church's chicken.
No, he doesn't have the chicken joint. I thought
you don't have Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Hey, do you know that I would have guessed that picture though? You showed that to me. I would have thought that was Nate Bargatze before he got gray hair.
Oh man! All right, Cue Ball Dave. That's what I'm gonna call you.
It worked. Been called worse.
Hey, I mean, we all get called things. We could be called Super Dave, but all right. Give us your opinion. You want to become on the expert? I want to hear what you got to say about some college football and football in general, whatever.
All right, so Dave kind of hit the nail on the head. If you're going to be paying college athletes there's got to be some sort of salary cap.
Right. It can't
So,
be millions of dollars.
It can't. And then you have things like the Tennessee quarterback who wanted more money. He went to UCLA. His brother at Arkansas. Now Arkansas is going after him for $200,000 because he just dipped out after he'd already been paid a chunk of change. So there's got to be some sort of regulation, because before it was always, it's going to be NIL. And what they were going to do was you had schools like Oregon. Oregon has Nike money.
Yeah.
And it was going to be like, well, you can sell your jersey now and make money off the sale of your football jersey. Because before you could buy a college football jersey or some shit, but it didn't have anybody's name on it.
Right.
Just a number. So, okay, you can sell your college jersey. You can get paid to do autograph appearances and things like that, which they could not do in the past. So, the scuttlebutt on that was, if I'm Nike and what's his name? Something Knight.
Phil Knight.
He's gonna, okay, you come to Oregon and I'll buy 1 million jerseys. I mean, so, then it just became the Wild West. And NIL should they be paid? Absolutely. If they're going to be paid, though, they should not be getting college scholarships.
Nope.
So they should have to pay back their scholarships, and those scholarships should go to other people.
That's a good idea. That you just brought up a good point. I didn't even think about it. Like, I'm saying, if you come in with NIL money, like if you're above $100,000, because I mean most of them are getting millions anyway, you should pay for your schooling.
Yeah,
because that scholarship could go to somebody better.
But what's
better,
really funny is that this past year, of all the teams that made the 12 teams that made the college football playoff,
what in Alabama?
All that happened starting in December into January. Did you hear of any players on any of those 12 teams having any kind of bad grades or anything like that?
Mm-mm.
Because
they were all eligible.
Yeah.
Have you ever? But I don't remember the last time anybody on a good football team. I mean, I've never pretended like any of these guys were scholars.
Let me just say this, and I'll be one to say it. I'm an Alabama fan. I don't know, Cue Ball Dave, who you root for?
Seminoles. Look behind my head.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Well, you got McCoy back here.
That's Gerald McCoy from Buccaneers.
Okay. All right. I'll go with that. So Seminoles. Okay. Well, you should already know very well where I'm going with this one. I mean, we know we free shoes you. But
yeah.
Anyway, here's the thing. Alabama has been on top of the mountain for over a decade. When Saban came there, it was over a decade they were on top of the mountain. Now, we all know this was a lot before the NIL, but we all know nobody ever heard nothing about Alabama in scandal. Nobody ever heard Alabama, doing this illegally, doing that illegally. But they were.
All the players drove Hellcats.
The thing is that they brought money to the NCAA.
So my cousin played football at Georgia Tech.
I'm sorry.
And this is he's my age, late 90s, early 2000s. He got paid to play at Georgia Tech.
Well, yeah. Wait, hold on. Who was there? Was it Chan Gailey there?
O'Leary.
So that was, yeah.
This isn't anything new, guys. When I was in high school, we had a basketball player named Frank Williams, and he went to Baylor, and he drove a very nice Camaro that just happened to be gold and white Baylor colors. And then there was a guy named Charles Washington.
Hold on. Monty's
that
just
played.
spoke in. Let's see what Monty's got to say here. The revenue sharing will make players employees of the university, which will also, with the sports programs, to be separate LLCs. What's your thoughts on that? Monty's a coach, so
I'd respect his opinion on this a lot more.
They should
because
be
he's
given.
a coach.
There should be a flat out salary cap,
yeah.
and each sport should be given a salary cap. Now, if Baylor University doesn't give a shit about women's softball and they don't want to spend money on it, that's their prerogative. If women's softball has a $5 million salary cap and they want to spend $5 million, go for it. But there's got to be a salary cap. You got to reel it in because Texas is going insane right now. They're talking about something of a $30 to $40 million payroll next year for Texas.
Hi, are you recording? Let you go.
And then you got college basketball, Kentucky. I mean, how many people are on a college basketball team? 14, 15, something like that?
Not even that many. I think it's about 14. I'd say about 14.
Their payroll is like $24 million next year.
Well, that's because, you look at it, they're bringing in a lot of money. So that.
But you don't screw around. See, what people don't understand is you have universities like Texas A&M, Oklahoma State, Oregon. Here's the kicker, because you really mess around, Notre Dame's going to take over college football because Notre Dame's got more money than all of them.
Let me just tell you something about Notre Dame, though. Notre Dame they've played in how many national championships since Lou Holtz and have not won one yet?
They haven't won one since the 80s.
Read this one, Q-Ball. You can't have a salary cap because they don't have a collective bargain agreement. That's true.
I think that's coming.
It's coming.
I do think
I think it is too.
Coming.
It's coming. That's what Trump and all of them are pushing for with Saban and stuff. I'm telling you, it's coming.
Here's a good question. What about the endorsements? How does that factor in? Does that factor into the NIL? I think that kind of is like in the NIL.
I think if you're a celebrity in college football, you should be able to milk endorsements for all that it's worth.
Well, the person that's milking it the most was LeBron's son. I mean, just off his name, he was getting a lot of those endorsements, though.
But you're going to mess around, and there's going to be
have as many millions as he has.
There's going to be a hornet's nest, though. You start talking about money with programs. I'll tell you right now, when they figure it out, the University of North Carolina is going to be scary because they have Jordan money. Now,
but I'm just talking about in relation to endorsements. If a kid on the team is a star, like say, let's just go back to Johnny Manziel was playing. He was Johnny Football. If he'd have been on every national commercial milking it for all it was worth, no, endorsements do not equal salary. Endorsements means that you're a damn star and you're riding your star until it burns out.
You're Michael Jordan. You ain't losing money.
Ain't everybody
right now with the NIL, it's most of their NIL stuff is done through, like as a Florida State booster and things like that. I can go through and buy autographs of players and do meets with players and things like that. But most of the NIL money is all from local companies in the area. So guys they're going to a local car dealership and shooting a commercial, and then they're getting free cars or whatever. So that's where a lot of the NIL money is. But people are thinking more on a national scale. And you will see players start being used on a national scale. And see, this is where it gets tricky, though. The SEC is tied at the hip with ESPN. So you're going to start seeing national ESPN commercials featuring SEC players. Well, that's going to give them give them a leg up on everybody else.
But my
you're
point's
going to
not
see
about
Fox do stuff with Big Ten players.
I'm not talking about funneling salaries to them that way. I'm talking about the athletes that are genuine, bona fide breakout superstars.
Yeah. I mean, if you sign a
even
contract
personalities, because not all the time they may not be able to play, but they got to help personality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, when they catch fire and can be a spokesman, I don't think that they should be restricted on that, is what I'm
I
saying.
hear. All
Because
right, Monty's
everybody
got-
can't do that.
Let's see what Monty has to say. Just went to NCAA about this.
A symposium.
Yeah, symposium. Where's that at? Oh,
Oh,
symposium.
I thought you were trying to figure the word out.
No, I wasn't trying to figure that word out, Dave. I just couldn't see because it was so small there.
The revenue share policy will evaluate all NIL deals and dictate market value for every player in the deal and has to be approved.
And the thing about getting it approved is like it's like a committee kind of deal, and it's just I just don't.
I tell you where they got to be careful though. What almost killed Major League Baseball?
Oh,
Strikes
yep.
and lockouts.
You think that won't happen in college?
It will.
What do you think will happen if college football or college basketball or college baseball goes on strike?
Well, it's going to be just like the WNBA. You know, when Angel Reese was calling for the WNBA to go on strike because they wanted to get paid more. If they went on strike, that would be the biggest mistake they ever made because guess what? They would look and say, "Oh, we're saving money by them not being on there." They kick them off.
Yeah.
With college football, even though college football is a moneymaker, it's a big time deal. They would look at it and say, "We're not losing any money."
But what you'll do is you'll piss off your big donors.
Yep. Yes.
The big time ones, yes.
Because even with me, with what I donate, the few $1,000s I donate every year to Florida State, I'm a nobody. So I mean, there's buildings and stuff named after people.
Yeah.
You got Florida State's head coach who's got a $70 million buyout if he has another shitty season. The guys that are like, "Hey, I'll pay that." You start messing around and you start pissing off those guys.
Never.
Your sport goes bye-bye.
Sam, you asked the dumbest questions on that.
No, it's. I mean, NHL's they're popular. Their popularity's grown, but they don't market their players. I'm a Dallas Stars fan. I can't name them all.
Well, you know what?
Pronounce half of them.
If you go to a hockey game, you're having enjoyment. It's fun.
Yes,
but they just don't market it right.
But the NBA markets their guys right,
and the television. The problem with hockey is the viewership isn't there on television. I mean, they just lost their deal with ESPN and stuff like that because it's not worth it for them to pay it. And the NBA, even the NBA, like to me, the NBA sucks.
Oh yeah,
and I used to love the NBA. It's hot trash.
But I don't know if you know this, but Pepsi has dropped down to the number 4 brand. It used to be Coke first, Pepsi second. Then Dr. Pepper became number 2, and Pepsi became number 3. Well, Pepsi's been overtaken by Sprite, and you're never going to convince me that Sprite being the drink of the NBA has not done that.
Yeah.
Could be. I mean, it's been the drink of the NBA for years.
Who else do you relate Sprite to?
LeBron James.
Started out with Grant Hill.
Yeah,
Grant Hill. It's always basketball. They tied their cart to basketball. And I mean, I'm just saying, I don't think it's any coincidence that Sprite's popularity has grown because they've locked arms with the NBA.
I'll tell you the knock on hockey is it's a very expensive sport to get in. So when you want to know why soccer's the biggest sport in the world? Because all you need is a ball. You don't need a bunch of stuff.
And you are talking about that it is extremely expensive because I wanted to play on a men's instructional league and I couldn't afford the equipment because with my face, I had to have extra equipment, but just a really good hockey helmet's like thousands, not hundreds. So, I mean, but youth.
The only hockey I've ever seen is Mighty Ducks.
But the youth hockey program, especially in Dallas area, the Stars came in and they co-branded with Dr. Pepper. They came up with what they called the Dr. Pepper Star Centers, and they started youth hockey. But the hockey has grown and gotten into the schools in Texas. So hockey's growing, and they may be 20, 30 years away from knocking on the door of being, a viable. They may overtake baseball. They'll never overtake. I don't think they'll ever overtake basketball. But what I'm saying is these sports are growing. Wrestling's the same way. Wrestling wasn't available when I was in school. Dan Gable told me last year at the Hall of Fame that it's his mission to get wrestling in all the schools nationwide. But so you talk about everybody wanted to pile on Bischoff and Hogan being part of this American-made wrestling. If you can make that style of wrestling cool on television in an American Idol, The Voice type of presentation, you're going to make more kids want to do that. And that's how you can grow the sports. But those sports are years away from contending, Sam.
There's the top two sports right now is football and basketball because they garner the most attendance, they garner the most money. If you look at it,
it ain't even close. It ain't even close.
Darren, as for your question, when donors give to colleges, can they earmark that money just to a sports team? No. So like if whatever you give, it goes into a pot. So that's where, and I mean, that's where a lot of the stuff's got to be figured out. But I mean, they're talking about increasing college scholarships in football up to 105 now per team. So like, but then Title IX comes into play. So then you got to find 20 more scholarships for women just off football. But it goes everywhere. It just depends on, I mean, but they can use it wherever they see fit. So you give the money to the school and then their booster program or their NIL program doles it out how they see fit. So some schools, you know, football's king and football is going to get 90% of it. But
can I change the subject?
You can't just say it goes anywhere.
While Jason's in the chat, can I just say something?
Yeah.
His daughter.
Oh gosh, don't even get started on that athlete.
No, I'm talking about how she cooks.
Oh, she cooks a king cake good too, and a lot of other stuff.
And a sugar cookie. Yeah. Those sugar cookies.
I hadn't had the sugar cookies.
But hey, I ain't blowing rainbow smoke when I say I would rather eat those sugar cookies than any cookie I get from Crumble. That sugar cookie, I only got 2 of them, and I was like, man, why didn't I get more of them? Because I knew they were going to be good.
Oh yeah, she's an incredible cook from what I've seen in the king cake that we had one time out of that.
Was selling them at she had a table at the other night, and
man,
we got king cakes. We got king cakes, and we got the cookies. I saw those cookies, and I went over and got some cookies.
You got you a good businessman when you got Jason out there selling stuff.
I'm pissed that I didn't get more cookies. And the next time that if she's got that table set up in August, I'm spending my envelope in cookies.
Well, you know what? She's a fantastic athlete too.
Oh yeah,
as a matter of fact, she was at one point a few years ago. She was on the volleyball team with my niece. She helped my niece a lot. Grow as an athlete. She gave her a lot of good advice, which Monty gives a lot of good advice. I mean, one of the best minds in the business. I could sit there and listen to that man all day long, and he's just got so much knowledge. But she's an athlete. She's going, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Jason, you can beat me up if I say it's wrong. I think she's going to play at Southwest volleyball, if I'm not mistaken. And I may be wrong. It may have been somewhere else, but I know that she's going, and she's a great athlete and a great person as well. Jason, you know, he's a genuine human being. He's great. She says thank you to Dave for spending his money at the table.
He went on that trip and made nothing because he ate cookies.
I wish I'd got more of them. I really do.
Well, y'all have a good night. I got to go put kids to bed. Thanks for letting me pop in.
See you, Dave.
You got kids or the great grandkids? What?
I got 12 and 9. They're youngins.
dude, at 90, you should not be having kids.
90.
But anyway,
I'm only 43. I still got years to go.
you're only a year older than me. Well, have fun, man. Y'all have a good
Thanks,
night.
guys.
Thanks for
Yep.
popping in, Dave.
Yeah, thanks. But yeah, man, I mean, you know, and I want to get to that. We'll close out here in a few minutes because I know we've been on here. We've talked everything. Dave, you know, last time we was on here, we talked strictly wrestling. This time, I don't know where we went.
We had fun though.
I mean, did you have fun?
Yeah, I'm here. You
All
saw Dave left. I'm here with you, buddy.
I'm gonna just say this. All right, so Monty is probably one of the greatest minds in wrestling on the independent scene around here. I love listening to him.
Yes.
He's got a lot of good advice. Name me a couple more that you've been around and that you think has a real good impact on independent wrestling around here. Is a great mind.
In this area? Or
I'd say in the South. I'd say between
Oh,
Texas and Florida.
Well, in Texas, Matthew Palmer and Athena. They run MPX. They run MPX 50 weeks a year.
Look who's in their
Larry
chat.
Wolf. What does it talk about as much random stuff as you can on here? Well, we've
that's what we've
accomplished
done
that tonight.
Yeah, we have full blown accomplished that one.
When John Saxon's around, when Cassidy Riley's around, I saw it at SWA with Monty. Monty and Calvin, they were telling you, not just telling you why you should do it, but I mean, not how to do it, but why you should do it. And that, you know, just that knowledge of it, making it make sense. And it just seems like it's so that when you hear it, it seems simple, but you don't come up with it on your own. When I have, like Steve Anthony, we talked about how great he is in the ring, but just putting it all together and explaining why don't do this, do this, do this, and this, and why we do this. And but Cassidy comes back when Cassidy's in the building, he'll come back and he'll even tell me as a referee, you needed to do this because if you'd have been doing this while he was doing this, it would have worked even better. And I'll tell you somebody else that shows up. Chase Stevens. That dude.
We got a live podcast coming on Tony Schiavone in 15 minutes about Sabu, which we didn't even mention. Let's mention that real quick. Sabu passed away yesterday. I mean, how can I forget that? What was you? I was sitting here and my brother-in-law sent me the thing, and I was just like, wow.
I've met him twice. I had a very good interaction, a part of a good interaction with him. The second time, I got kind of a funny story because let's don't pretend like he wasn't surly. But the first time I met him was in 2005. I'd gone to a convention called Wrestle Reunion. They didn't do. It's one of the first ones they did. It's like 90 wrestlers there. And my friends, you know, I got into all this because of belt collecting. And my friends gave me this U.S. belt like the Sheik had in Detroit or like Blackjack Mulligan had. You know the type when I'm talking about the croc skin with the United States shaped and like nugget and looked like some messed up birds on it. Not a good looking belt, but you know which one I'm talking about. So I had it was a shitty version of that belt. My friends gave it to me. It was a gift. It was great. So I'm walking to my room and I've got this belt and Sabu's coming up the hall and there's a friend of mine that collects a lot of belts with me. And Sabu saw the belt and came over and he wanted to see it. And he's looking at it and he's telling me about his uncle being the U.S. champion. And he's telling me, he's just talking to me, you know, sharing story with me. And my friend can't stand the inaccuracies in the story and tries to correct him and pissed him off and ruined it. Now, fast forward to 2014. I'm sitting at NWA Legends in Charlotte, North Carolina with my belt friends. And we have our big golds with us. We all own a big gold. I've got mine. Jay-Z's got his. Several other collectors. We've got our big golds on the table. We're sitting at the table. We're drinking beer. Conrad Thompson's at the table with us. And he has his big gold with him, which, by the way, is the real one that Ric Flair had on television in the 80s. It's the actual big gold belt. And he's got his sitting on the table. But the rib of the whole thing is that nobody knows that's the real one because it's just all these big golds sitting on a table. Nobody knows the real one is right there. And Sabu comes walking by and he looks at the table. He goes, fake shit. And kept walking.
Oh, man. Barry had something to say here, which Barry, one of my favorites. I believe Chase in Tennessee, Jack Lord, Al Savage in Alabama, Monty Calvin in Mississippi, Cassidy in Louisiana. I tell you, man, that's something that don't come up very often is Al Savage. Remember him? Down in Mobile?
I don't think I've ever had the opportunity to be around him.
Jack Lord, you know, right?
Yes.
Let's see here. What we got?
Hey, we've left out Steve Starr and Gil Culkin.
Yes, Steve Starr.
You've been in their locker room and the way they explain it. And I worked for them for 3 years and there was never a dive on their shows and never a nut shot.
That is true.
My favorite belt I own is a replica of the NWA World Heavyweight Championship, the 10 pounds of gold, made by Dave Milliken. I've got it autographed by multiple NWA champions, including Harley Race and Ric Flair. Just to name a few. I mean, Jack Stane, Tim Storm, Colt Cabana, Dan Severn, Ken Shamrock, a bunch of them. That's my favorite one. And the one I want to own that I don't own, I would really, really, really like to have
10 pounds of 10 pounds of silver. I'd sell a kidney for an actual 10 pounds of silver.
He would. And he's consistent with that.
Yeah, I agree. That's great. Yes.
A world-class tag team belt. I think the world-class, just the world-class tags like the Fantastics had, like Matt Bourne and had like the Samoan SWAT team. That version of the world-class tags is about the only one.
Well, let me ask you this.
That's about the only one left. I mean, I got 70 of them.
Yeah. 70?
Roughly. Could be 72.
I got 70 of the styrofoam belts. Does that count?
I've got 3 of those. I got the old world one, the Intercontinental, and the tag. Those foam ones back in the day.
I got 2 Intercontinentals, the old one and then the oval one. And then I got a Wing Eagle belt one. So
now, if he the 10 pounds of gold is my favorite because of seeing it defended, seeing Kerry win it, and so that one historically gets in my feels. The Mid-Atlantic belt, that big white one that Ricky Steamboat had, like Roddy Piper had. That was the one that made me like wrestling belts. But just as being a cool belt, my Mid-South North American.
Well, that's what Jason just brought up was, what do you think
hang
about
Hang on.
Oh, Jason, here he comes. He's going to bring it in. And yes, Barry, you do need to get them in a room together. Look at that beautiful belt, baby. Look at that beautiful belt.
I just happen to have it handy.
What's up, Luke Bates?
Hey, I know where the ring used one is too.
Where's it at?
It's in Louisiana.
Look, Jason's jealous. Let me ask you something. All right, a lot of our fans already know this. Look at
I'm gonna have
Barry.
to have everybody. I'm gonna have to have everybody over into the house. We're gonna have barbecue. We'll
Yeah, we do.
hang
We
out in
need
my
to
man
get a
cave and talk
brilliant
about wrestling.
barbecue at Super Dave's. That's what we need to do. But let me ask you this, Dave.
Barbecue or crawfish. We'll have something.
Yeah, crawfish, whatever. It don't matter to me. I love some crawfish. Why don't you? Can we see the Charlotte Wall that Tony Schiavone and all them talk about sometimes? Look at the Charlotte Wall. There it is. I mean, did you have to buy 2 houses to have all this memorabilia in it?
No.
Hey, Joe says he'll bring the steaks to the barbecue. I think we need
What
to.
I'm talking about.
I remember Mid-South in '97 when they came to HHS school.
We can
Now,
make some
the
Captain
Mid-South that
America.
you're looking at is the same Mid-South that came to Meridian around '95. That's when Cactus Jack and Abdullah. Barry, you know exactly what I'm talking about with that Mid-South. What was that Mid-South's name? Because we talked about it when me and you talked. And would it be Catfish Deal at Palmwater Dave's house?
We can get some catfish.
Dave needs to have his own Top Guy weekend. That's true. That's true.
Yeah, we were talking. We were going to call it Palm Water Palooza. It's going to be like everybody's just going to have to bring a tent, though.
Do you remember jamming Jimmy Michaels? Luke Bates, I think you're making up things, son. Let's see here. But Barry, if you're still watching, I want to know what was it? I can't remember what it was. Something Mid-South. They used to come to like Meridian. They came down.
There was
towards
somebody
Hancock.
running under his mids when I moved here. There was somebody running a Mid-South card in Philadelphia.
Yeah, there was. But
2010, 2000. No, it's probably about 2012 when I saw the sign.
Yeah, so they it does it off and on, but yeah, let's see what we got here. But yeah, remember, if you have not liked the video, check it out. Like the video or like the live right now. Palmwater Dave puts on a festival that I'll book the comedy and the music show. There you go. Yes, they worked Meridian High School. That was where Abdullah and Cactus was at. I was there that night. The Rock and Roll Express was there. I can't remember if it was the Midnight Express was there one time. I know Axe from Demolition was there one time too, but I don't think it was all at the same time. I know the Rock and Roll Express, Cactus Jack, and Abdullah were on the same show.
Is there anything better than wrestling in a high school gym?
I had a shirt from the Mid-South show because they came through Laurel. Yes, that's the same one. Oh yeah, there's nothing like it, but
because people can't believe World Class used to run high school gyms.
Yeah, everybody used to run high. Gangsters Birkin. Yep, that was it. Gangsters Birkin versus Rock and Roll Express. I remember it very well that night because in the middle of the ring in Meridian, it was Lico was like the sponsor, but Lico, which was a big thing, it was on like that a commercial all the time on TV, and they had it Lico in the middle of the ring on the apron or and stuff. Oh, I know you had a good one, Jason. We talked about it earlier. You don't have to rub it in. You don't have to put the salt in the wound. But yes, y'all did have a good show. Good turnout.
We had a great show.
Wrestling and Armors.
Now, yes. in fairness, it wasn't that great for Barry, but it did hit.
Yeah, it wasn't great for Barry. Barry, I heard, The Lee Coast show. Oh man. But yeah, like Monty's down there at SWA, Calvin's down there at SWA, and they've just been killing it for a long time. And it gets better and better.
You don't get that many people showing up if you aren't doing something right.
Yeah, and well, first off, you don't get that many people consistently unless you're doing something right. And it's not like they just started doing this. It's not like we had a 300 or 400 person night or 500 person night tonight. It's every single show, but it's because they put the work in and they get out there and they push it and they make sure when you got the best hype man in the business. No offense, the best man in the business, the best businessman who knows how to sell he could sell a igloo to an Eskimo. And that's Monty Warbucks. You're going to get people in there. I will not, I'll just say this. He's one of the best minds in the business. Back-to-back shows, 700 plus, 2 weeks apart in the same county. Yes, it's been crazy. But it doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me one bit. Because I've seen you do it before. And Monty came on and he was worried, we're going to see how we can do it, so close. I was like, you ain't got to worry about it. If you get Northeast Jones out the park, South Jones is going to tear it up, and they did. So, plus you add war games in there, that's already an attraction. That's already going to draw a bunch of people.
And that cage impressed me because it didn't have a platform on top of it to jump off of. It was a chain link. It had spikes at the top to keep nobody was getting in, nobody was getting out.
Well, that's the whole point of a cage match.
It didn't have 100. Well, at the beginning, it didn't have any weapons. The cage was the weapon. It was not good for Barry.
We know it wasn't good for you, poor Barry. But
what I'm saying is that
you always trust the wrong people.
So often that you have a cage and everybody spends all their time outside the cage and using chairs and tables, and the cage is the weapon.
Well, the thing is like, that's what I've always disliked about the cage match is we're outside the cage. Well, the whole point of the cage match is to be confined within those four walls. And it's always like we're outside the cage. You're not supposed to. So that I like that. When you're confined, that's the way it's supposed to be. But anyway, Dave, man, has anybody got any more questions? Well, I'm not trying to bring it up, Barry. It's Dave that's bringing it up.
Oh,
Barry.
So, throw me under the bus.
I didn't throw you under the bus. Don't put a hat on a hat. That's true. That's true. That's stupid. That stupid bat didn't get tossed in until after the deed was done. Yeah. I'm sorry, Barry, man. I wish I could come up with you an excuse, but you've gotten soft lately. But anyway, Dave, if anybody's got any questions for Dave, as a matter of fact, Jason, you need to come up with a good question. I know you've already asked a couple, but I need you to ask some more. And Barry, I need to get Dave a new shirt.
This is a new shirt. I just got it.
Look at that.
And it's dry fit. I got a new merch store. Jumpinthepond.com.
When is Amy coming on the show? On my show? I've been on y'all's show. When's she coming on my show?
Her.
I mean, I don't have to invite her. I mean, she stays in my DM all the time.
Me and Amy are going to be on the Double Dropkick podcast Saturday night. It's the first one we've done together as guests.
That'd be interesting. Well, I'm gonna have to reach out to her. I've kind of muted her on Facebook because she keeps sending me a room number, and I don't. Let's see. Need to get her.
I got her the other night on the show. She got tongue tied and confused, and She can't slip in front of me. There's a YouTube short of it now.
Barry, by soft, I mean you let these fans, you know, they brainwash you. You think they. What's your favorite mask, Barry asked?
Tiger mask.
Oh, Tiger mask. What is the style difference between Mississippi, Texas, and Louisiana on the Indy circuit?
Well, Texas is more. Matthew Palmer calls it Texas strong style, and that kind of makes sense. It's wrestling, but it seems like it's more of a fight. In Mississippi, it seems like most of the time that we're doing having more of a contest. We don't get all caught up in the outside interference and the spots so much. I think it's happening more now, but I think Mississippi still likes to tell the story inside the ring.
Yep.
Man,
What about
I
Louisiana?
don't know how to describe Louisiana because
I do.
It depends on who you're working for because there's different. Every show's got a different style.
But you just got to have blood work. That's how it works.
Yeah. Louisiana's they're way to the gimmick. Got to pay that money. Got to pay that.
Well, they kind of lightened up this year, though, didn't they?
I still had to pay the commission, though. I just got to do it online. I don't have to carry a card anymore.
Yeah. All right. We got Barry with something else here. What match did Dave get lost in? What took him back to childhood? Steve Anthony's last match doesn't count, Dave.
All right. Oh. It took me back to my childhood.
Which was a very long time ago. Dave was a kid when vampires roamed the earth in New Orleans.
Man, that's a hard question. I think the last one would have been Rodney Mack and Vordell Walker.
Woo. Dave's only 28. Yeah, 2,800. No, 28. Dave's.
Is that metric?
I had to give him a little bit. All right, here we go. Here's Jason's got one. What's your thoughts on the Hideaway and Pro Wrestling Ego?
That venue was perfect. That venue was perfect, and that owner at the Hideaway, man, that wasn't Ego's fault. Because he's always looking to cut your throat for a better deal. But the Hideaway was the best venue. It still is. I mean, the midget wrestling goes there a lot. I know you're not supposed to say that, but that's what they call it. They're calling it that. So
I mean, that's what they call it. But I mean, they come here to Meridian. Look, do you know where you ever been to the Temple Theater in Meridian? Ever heard of it?
I've heard of it. I've never been there.
It's got like 1,500 seats in there. Do you know that when the Micro Wrestling Federation comes to the Temple Theater every year, they pretty much sell that building out every time. I don't know how, because it's popular.
Oh yeah, they sell the Hideaway. But yeah, Jason. Barry makes a point, and it seemed like every time we were there, somebody wanted to jump off the balcony, somebody wanted to fight on the pool table.
All right, and Jason, I want to see if you agree with this.
And I almost fell down the stairs every time.
The Hideaway would be a perfect spot, feasibly, if you could do it, where you could shoot a TV show, where you could shoot TV wrestling. Do you agree with that?
It's got that feel. I don't know if the lighting would be good in there.
Well, now they got the. I want to do an SWA at the Temple Theater. Night of the Opera. Well, if you do that, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you right now, if you're coming to Meridian, you just better remember there's a brilliant one that lives here and would be very disappointed if you come to Meridian. The brilliant one ain't there.
You know what building every time I'm in there, I think would be good for a wrestling show?
Pile drive dude on a pool table. What's that?
The Coliseum at Clinton, at the college, at Mississippi College.
Oh, yes.
That basketball, that geodesic dome. Every time I'm in there, I'm thinking, man, this would be perfect for a wrestling event.
Man, there's a couple of places that I've, seen over the last few years. That one that Saxton and them are running in Biloxi looks like a good venue, man. It would look like for good TV.
And that rec center they run in Houma is a really good building.
Yes, I've seen that one time.
That building y'all had in AWA.
Ocean Springs Civic Center. I love that.
That was a good building.
Yes.
The schools are always good. I'd pick a school gym immediately.
Well, I'm not going to go ahead and jump ahead here, but
we did a show up with Legacy with Steve.
Yeah.
We did one
at the Neshoba County Coliseum. Yeah,
that Coliseum, and I thought that was a good building.
Yes, it was.
It was a big building.
It was a big building, and it's got that feel to it. So yes, I love the Neshoba County Coliseum. Oh, hold on. The building we run in Waynesboro is perfect for TV June 14th. Yes, it is. I've been in that building. I've done some work in that one. So, yeah, I agree that one is. But if you ever come to Meridian, Monty, you better remember the brilliant one when you comes, I almost say. Waynesboro seats 200 with a stage and a great sound. Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, I think that was the one where me and Van Vicious came out. And it was packed out that night. I believe y'all were sold out that night when we came in there. But yeah.
Boy, that's a guy. That's a guy that gets old school heat.
Who, Van?
Yeah, because the women love him and their boyfriends want to kill him.
You want to hear the saying?
He gets that heat where the jealousy heat, and you don't see that often anymore.
No, you want me to tell you what I said? You know what I call him? What my saying is for him? He's sweeter than a German chocolate cake. He lifts barbell plates. He's a woman's pet. Now man's are great. He's delicious. Van Vicious.
We did
see there, Darren. I'm not a singer. I'm a.
We got to do a show down in Hattiesburg at the soccer facility. That real nice soccer facility they built.
Oh yeah.
Like I couldn't believe they let wrestling in there. That's how nice. Like,
band is great.
We and the owner was proud to have us there. He came over. The dude came over from England to build this soccer facility in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. They had water sprinklers. They had water cannons. He had a special tractor that was made to go on the turf. But we did the show there, and I remember these girls were just all into him, and their boyfriends legitimately wanted to kill him. Oh, awesome.
I miss you too, Pauline. I'm back now somewhat. Barry brought up the Hollywood Palace in Greenwood, Mississippi, and you ever been there?
No, the only time I've worked in Greenwood was in that rodeo barn.
The rodeo barn.
Yeah,
the palace is awesome, though. It is, and as Jason said, but all right.
There was so much dirt in the ring that night.
I'm sure there was.
It was. Oh.
Before we, Jamal Roberts now in the top 3 American Idol. That's the guy I was telling you from Meridian. He's now in the top 3 of American Idol. Nobody watches, but it just flashed across the phone. But anyway, Dave, before we start getting ready to get out of here, go ahead and tell everybody about Palm Water Dave's show that's on Tuesday nights and who you got tomorrow night.
RJW, half of Muddy Waters. RJW.
Hey, you want to? All right. I don't know if you've seen my comic stuff, my little comic book stuff. I'm going to show you a picture of RJW because it's going to come out soon. But let me see if I can find it here. Oh, here it is. Tell me, look at this. Does he not look like a monk? You know, like one of them.
But he's the kind of guy that smiles at you while he's whooping your ass.
He is, and he's got that whip. But you know what gets me the most? You know, the first time I ever met him was like 2020. I'm walking up to him. This big guy stands up to me. He sticks his hands out. I go, "Hey man, how you doing?" Oh,
I love him. Him and Gio, I love him. And I'm excited to have him on. I've had Gio on before, so I'm getting RJW. We're going to have RJW on tomorrow night, and then on the 20th, we're going to have Lily Flanagan, who's just wrote a book about the life and death of Gino Hernandez. It's called I Am Your Champion. It's in pre-order right now. She's going to be on. We're going to talk about Gino Hernandez next week. And then on the 27th, I'm going to have Steve Anthony.
All right, so
get the Hosey brothers are going to come up next month.
Yeah, I got the Hosey Bros coming up. Let me see what date I got them coming up, because I got them coming up the 22nd of May, I believe. I think it's the 22nd of May. I got which tomorrow night's a guest is a little bit. It's not a special guest tomorrow night. It's a mystery guest tomorrow night. Wednesday night, Benjamin J. Wood will be on here to talk with the Brilliant One.
There you go.
And then Thursday, I got Tommy Zero coming on from down in Florida. And then Sunday, I got Rob Cabela making an appearance on the Brilliant Show. And then Monday, I got Frankie Thomas coming on. And we'll get into
Frankie. I absolutely love Frankie.
Gino Hernandez, that's the name I've been wanting to bring up. He could have been a horseman. There is no doubt there, Jason.
I always thought as a horseman, he would have took over and forced Flair out.
He would have. But Gino...
And it would have worked because Flair had become such an organic baby face. Like he could have clubbed puppies and it didn't matter at that point. So Gino could have kept the horseman heel and forced Flair out, and that would have been so great.
Well, Gino was just a great heel, period. But Gino was just great.
Oh, I hated his guts.
He was just great in general with everything he did. The death situation, that was whatever.
You believe he overdosed? You believe somebody killed him, made it look like it?
I'm just gonna be honest with you. I know some people's stance on that with, Gino knew when to quit. Gino knew not to take too much or whatever. Be honest with you, I don't know what happened, but I have to go with the overdose right now until proven wrong, I guess. But what's your thoughts? Because you were closer to it. You were more in the area of that.
Oh, at the time, I just thought it was an overdose.
Now
by the time Gino died, it was getting to be. I mean, it was every time you looked up, something was happening at that point, and.
Well, yeah, with the Von Erichs. Now, let me ask you this. Were you living there when the Von Erichs and all that was going on? Like with Mike and Dave?
I skipped school and went to David's funeral.
Really?
I did. Yeah, I was living there. I lived in Texas till 2010, but yeah, I was there for the whole thing. And I told a story the other day because we talked about the Hollywood Demons episode of the Real Iron Claw. And they were talking about Kerry, his cocaine possession, what got him in trouble. And they didn't mention that he had been arrested for forging prescriptions. But when he was in WWF on one of the syndicated shows, before they went to commercial, they'd do a little segment. He'd go, "Hey, I'm the Texas Tornado. I'm from Denton County, Texas. And in my spare spare time. You know, but they do it with all the wrestlers. And they just tell a little tidbit about one of their hobbies or when they're not wrestling. Kerry goes, in my spare time, I'm learning to read and write in Latin. And I looked at my wife and I said, don't they write prescriptions in Latin? And we both kind of laughed. And then he got busted for forging prescriptions. And that's what violated his probation. But they didn't mention that on that. But
Well, all right. Before we get out of here, because we're about to close out, let me ask you this: the Iron Claw, the movie.
yes,
It's gonna fool a lot of people that did not know. But do you think that was? I know it wasn't an accurate depiction, nowhere even close.
no,
They didn't
it
even
was,
mention Chris's name in any of it.
no, they 100% combined Chris and Kerry.
Yeah, they really did.
Yeah, because Kerry wasn't a jerk.
Mm-mm. And here's the thing, though, like they just, I know they had to make it for Hollywood purposes the way they wanted to do it, but
Well, that's why Kevin's talking so much now, because he endorsed the movie. It's based on a true story, loosely based on a true story.
way loosely.
And I think that it's forced Kevin to talk about some things that he really didn't used to be comfortable talking about. But now he's, out there setting the record straight.
Well, see, I know they said it like the Von Erichs were after the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. That was not the full premises. It should not have been a full premises of that, but I know they had to find
Well, the
something.
movie was steeped in kayfabe.
Yeah.
And I can tell the guy that watched it, he based a lot of it on the early 80s, 80, 81, 82, early 82, because the guy that played Bill Mercer, that wasn't Bill Mercer. That was the guy before Mercer. I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but if you'll go back and you look at the stuff before Mercer got there, you'll say, yeah, that's the guy that was the Iron Claw guy. But I mean,
well, what did you think of Ric Flair?
Oh, it's the worst. I don't know how you can find somebody to be that bad at Ric Flair.
Well, did you hear what the actor said? I wasn't trying to do an imitation of him. I was trying to be my own Ric Flair. I was like, buddy, there ain't one Ric Flair.
His own Ric Flair sucked.
Exactly.
But,
oh my gosh.
But I mean, I went into it and Conrad had saw it long before I did. And he told me, he said, hey, Dave, before you watch the movie, don't go in there and expect it to be accurate. Don't go in there. It's not a wrestling movie. Don't pick it apart, the inaccuracies. Just enjoy the movie. And because I went in with that attitude, I did enjoy the movie, because ultimately it told a story about how much those brothers really did love each other. But I didn't like how Fritz was portrayed. I believe Fritz was a hard man, but I don't believe that he was like in that movie when Doris didn't cook dinner and she was in there painting. I would not have been surprised if the Fritz Von Erich character in that movie wouldn't have whooped her ass.
Yeah, exactly.
And he would have never touched her. I don't believe that Fritz, I mean, it was all kayfabe. And Fritz did want his boys to be the NWA champion. Fritz was president of the NWA and he lobbied for it. They used to vote for it. And in 2005, I was getting my picture taken with, I got a lot of pictures taken at Wrestle Reunion. So the photographer would let me get some photo ops that weren't available to anybody else. And he just happened to have Jack Briscoe, Mick Foley, Harley Race, Terry Funk, Cactus, and Kevin Von Erich in a picture. And he said, jump in there and get your picture with him, Dave. And I was sitting in the middle of them, and the camera broke for a second, and he had to fix it. So I'm listening to these guys talk to each other. And Terry Funk turns and looks at Kevin Von Erich and said, Kevin, your dad is the reason that I got to be NWA World Champion. He was the tie-breaking vote that made me champion. He goes, and I'll never forget what your family did for me. And I'm like sitting there with my just going pop, 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 pop. It's a cool picture.
Yes, rest in peace, Sabu, for sure. We talked a little bit about Sabu earlier. But yeah, I was just like, when we went and seen the Iron Claw, I was just kind of disappointed. Not that, to me, that, Chris was a part of the family and they just kind of completely left him. I know they combined him with Kerry and stuff like that, but they just completely left his name out. And I know there's a
It's
lot
a
of
depressing
time.
story.
It is.
Depressing
It's
story.
A completely depressing story. The whole, anytime you dive into anything with the Von Erichs, it's depressing with what happened, because how much tragedy can you go through in one family?
And keep your faith. And keep your faith. And if they did a director's cut where everything they cut out they would put back in the movie, I'd watch it again. But one time was enough for me.
Yeah,
I didn't hate it.
I didn't watch it but one time. That's all I watched.
It was good for what it was. I liked seeing. Man, I got chill bumps and tears seeing the Sportatorium. Gino said, "But Gianni, you're a belt mark." So we picked that stuff apart. But yeah, the belts weren't accurate. It was the Texas belt was the Texas belt. Texas belt was spot on, but Kevin was not the Texas champion. David was Texas champion. Kevin was the American champion. So, you can pick it all apart.
Dave, I smell an episode of me and you rewatching, and don't go back and rewatch it till then. We need to rewatch the Iron Claw and just talk about it.
Can we do it like Mystery Science Theater and shit on it?
Yes, all day long.
And I'll watch it again if we can.
We can shit on it, and we can point out the
if we can pick it apart.
Yes.
I did like seeing that in the movie that David they had him in the yellow and black trunks.
Yeah.
That I actually own.
Oh, you really do? No, it wasn't for us. You're right there. It wasn't for us. Here's the thing. Like when you watch a movie and you don't know nothing about the history of it, it seems accurate. Oh, look at that. Yeah, we're going to have to do like steaks at Palm Water Dave's one night, no doubt. But like we all know the history with, the Iron Claw. We know the history, or most of the history, with the Kerry Von Erich and the Von Erichs. And when I watched that movie, like 2 minutes in, I'm just like, I'm already picking stuff apart. That's like, he didn't have a wreck after he won the NWA World Title. And I'm like, come on, we could have got some of this accurate,
He didn't show up at Christmas with a rat on his way to Mexico and cuss Fritz out for not liking the gun.
Yeah.
That didn't happen. He was a family man.
Yep.
I encourage everybody to watch Hollywood Demons, the real Iron Claw. It's got Kevin on there. It's got David Manning, Brian Adias, Bill Colville, who was their bodyguard. It's got Carrie's daughters, Holly and Lacey. And those kids have really good memories of their daddy, especially Holly. All right, man. That was fun.
Right. Yeah, it was fun. Y'all have a good one. And
thank you for the questions.
Yeah. Thanks for the questions and everything. We'll see you tomorrow night.
I'll be here.
Right here on my show. And then you got Palm Water Dave, who's going to have RJW. But thanks, Dave, for coming on. We're going to definitely get you back on. We may watch the Iron Claw one night and take it apart and shit on it.
That sounds like a good idea.